Good afternoon, everyone. This is Rich Cortez, County Judge for Hidalgo County. This afternoon, I want to spend a little time with you to go over an update on our preparedness for this coronavirus situation here we find in Hidalgo County. And also talk about some of the action that we've taken, some of the action that we want to take in the future to try to stop the spread of this terrible disease. We also want to talk to you about some of the programs that are available to some of our residents that I think will be helpful for them to deal with this virus. Why don't we just start by looking at some of the numbers. May I have the first slide, please? As you can see, in Hidalgo County, we've tested approximately 112,482 tests. Of those tests, the majority, or roughly, as you can see, a very high percentage, 93,000 of those tests were negative. 16.6% of those tests were positive, which totaled to be 18,699. We still have pending 723 tests. And the good news is that we've released 12,965 people that had previously tested positive. We've released them because they have no fevers or no more symptoms. Unfortunately, we've had 743 fatalities, which equate to 3.9% of those that have tested positive. We go to the next slide. This gives you a pretty good idea that if you track the percentage of people that have tested positive to our number of tests, you can see that it was going down, starting kind of there at the very end, somewhere in the early part of June. And then it started rapidly going up, meaning that a greater percentage of the people that were being tested were tested positive. How do we compare to Texas and the US? Well, our percent right there is going to be, like I said, 16.6%. Texas is at 11.76%, and the United States is at 9%. So unfortunately, we have been doing worse than the United States and Texas as a whole. Let's look at the next slide. On the next slide, you start to see, hopefully, some good news here. If you take a 7-day average of cases, okay, as you can see, we had a very high escalation starting pretty much around that June the 6th area. It just kept going up and up and up and up and up, and it kind of tressed around the last week of July, and thank goodness it's starting to come down. Next slide. And our weekly positive count line continues to drop, once peaking, pretty much in the latter part of July. Again, this is good news. Another way to illustrate this will be on the next slide. This is just simply that graph, but just in a bar graph. As you can see, we're starting to taper down. Next slide. As far as infections by cities, you can see where, unfortunately, Edinburgh is number one. It's had the most infections, of 3,234. Then it's followed by Mission, and then followed by McAllen, Farr, and then Wesco. Obviously, these are the cities that have the most population, so it's understandable how they would be showing the more infections by their cities. Let's go to the next slide. Here's something important for us to look at, and it's very, very revealing as to who needs hospitalization. As you can tell, it's the older people that require hospitalization. Most of the younger people that are being infected or not having to go to the hospital. Next slide. But let's look at the positive cases by age group. As you can see, the majority of the people that are getting infected are really, on the younger side. As you can see by that. Let's go on to the next slide. However, this is the bad news, that the deaths by age group is heavily on those that are over 70 years old. So that's kind of telling us a little bit that some of the problems that we're having is that some of our younger people are the reason that some of our older people are getting infected. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about a little bit is for the last 4 weeks, we've had a lot of dialogue with all the hospitals. We started off the program believing and thinking that we were going to have the capacity, to serve all of the needs of Hidalgo County. And here in recent times, the escalation, as you can see by late July, the hospitals were seeing this enormous amount of fluctuation of people going into the hospital. So we started to thinking about how to decompress the hospitals, how to add capacity. Well, today, if you can put on the next slide. Today, we had a total in the hospital of 732, of which 443 were in hospital beds, 289 were in ICU, and out of those people in ICU, 234 were in ventilators. That's a lot of people in ICU and a lot of people in ventilators, because those are the most vulnerable. Those are the ones that are more at risk. Today, based on the best information that we have that's been reported to us by the hospitals, there's an additional 112 beds available. There's 137 ventilators available and 67 ICU beds that are available. So we still have capacity. As you well know, unfortunately, because we've had such a high death rate in the last couple of weeks. I mean, we were averaging, over 30 people that were passing away. That's not the best way to improve capacity in our hospitals. Recently, the Hidalgo County Commissioners Court appropriated $7.5 million of the monies that we received from CARES Act to help the local hospitals increase their capacity and giving them some additional funds so that they can improve the services to all of our people. Also, on the next slide, as you know, we've been trying to get this alternative care site here in Hidalgo County. We wanted to make sure that we had enough available capacity, to serve the needs of the community. And when we were seeing these high numbers in late July, I mean, it was very evident that we needed to do something. Fortunately, the governor of Texas, through the Department of Emergency Management, helped us with an alternative care site, which is located in the McAllen Convention Center. This site right now has room for 48 beds. Presently, only 4 people are in the center, but we can grow up to 48 right now already, and hopefully we'll never get to increase it by another 150 beds, because hopefully we'll never need them, but we will have the capacity to increase it by another 150 beds. In addition to this alternative care site, the state of Texas converted a hotel in one of our cities here in Hidalgo County as a convalescent site. This means that if somebody has been in the hospital and you're getting better, you're recuperating, but you still need some skilled nursing help, then we're able to move you into this alternative care facility. Presently, I believe that we have 8 patients in this facility, and it can house as many as 40. One of the things that has been extremely important, the next slide, is we must continue to test people. A lot of us who have a suspicion that we have been, close to somebody that tested positive, or we need to know. I mean, I know that it's nerve-wracking, and you need to find out. So testing has been a big issue. So today, testing is going on free. All you have to do is drop by here at the Richard Flores Stadium in Edinburgh, Texas. You don't have to pre-register. You don't have to need to show any symptoms, whatever. That will be providing tests from August the 6th through August the 8th, and it starts at 8 a.m. Then it moves to Far, Texas for August the 10th. Same thing, no registration, just show up. And then it moves on to Hidalgo, Texas for August the 12th and August the 14th. Again, no symptoms are required. It's free testing. You can walk up and get tested in the event that you need to do so. Next slide. As always, and thank goodness that the University of Texas Medical School was here to help us with testing. When we first got our first test back in March the 21st, we had very limited testing capability. It was being done in Harlingen and with very limited testing, and UTRGV came over with testing sites and really have helped us. So they continue to provide this testing in locations found in Edinburgh and in Mercedes, and we, as part of our monies that we use from CARES Act, we allocated an additional $5 million to the University Medical School to help them and assist them with financing some of these tests. We thought that was a good use of our funds. Next slide, please. For anyone that needs more information and updates on testing, I ask you to go to hidalgocounty.us. Click coronavirus updates on the banner there, and then you can also click for testing sites, and you'll be able to receive some more information. Well, let's talk about the order that I signed yesterday and comes to play now. Why did I extend this order? Well, the virus hasn't gone yet. It's still here. And what have we learned in the past of what has happened to us? When this virus first hit us, we were basically taking direction from the Center of Disease Control because they're the experts. They continue to be the experts, but a lot of the decisions that I made as county judge had to come from them because nobody really knew how to do this. Well, today, we are all learning together. And some of the things that we're finding out that is hurting us in really stopping the spreading is that young people make up the majority of the people that tested positive. And the elderly make up the majority of the people that are dying. We found out that it's just taking too long for us to go back to the other slide. It's taken too long for those that are tested, because a lot of the tests that are out there, including the ones that the military and that we do, were just taking too long to find out. So if you go get tested on a Monday and you don't hear that you tested positive until a Friday or even a Thursday, you've been out there with the public Maybe you went back home, maybe you went socializing, you went back to work in some cases or whatever. So that's put a big strain on our ability to isolate you and keep you from further infecting people. The next thing that we found out is that, the valley is home to a lot of households and rooftops that have 3 generations of people living in there. Grandpa, grandma, mom and dad, and then the grandkids or their children are living there. So as you can see, when some of these younger people are going out, or even mom and dad are going out because they have to go to work or do other things, they're coming back, and unfortunately creating these clusters that are giving us a high number of tests positive. So it's really important that we notify people very quickly as to them being tested positive, so we can take appropriate action. The other thing that we're finding out is that some of the people that are not sick enough to go to the hospital and they're going home and they're isolated at home, they really don't know how to manage this disease at home, and especially if you're in a small home and you have a good bit amount of people living in that house. How do you physical distance? How do you handle those things? So as we're finding out, we're trying to come up with restrictions and processes to help our community better deal with this disease, so we can stop it. And some of these restrictions that we have put in place today are intended for one reason and one reason only. That's to help you, to keep you safe, keep you from getting this disease, keeping you from dying, keeping you from suffering. Because if you want to see misery, go to any one of those hospitals and just hear the cries of people yelling that they can't breathe and really struggling. So there have been studies, and I myself am trying to learn as much as I can, study as much as I can, inquire as many places as I can to figure out where have people been successful in dealing with this thing, so that we can learn from those things and do it. I'm finding out, and I listen to people, and everybody, a lot of people feel that, hey, we need to close everything down. So I said, okay, well, what experience have other places have by doing exactly that? Well, if a lot of our infections are the older people are usually not out and about as much as the young people, and they're, for the most part, they're already sheltered in. Some of them are already in nursing homes. So a shelter in place is not going to help those people. A lot of the people that have been tested positive are incarcerated. So a shelter in place is not going to help keep those people from getting infected. So what seems to be working more is a target approach to really identifying the real causes of this increase in infections, so that we can put a stop to it. For that reason, I've gone out to the medical community. I've asked the medical community to really do more. I think that the medical community needs to help us come up with solutions as much as possible. So we formed a new organization, a new task force. We call it the COVID Shield Task Force. And they're meeting, to come up with solutions to some of these problems that I have said. How do you deal with this 3-generational home? How do you deal with people in nursing homes being infected? How do you deal with all these things? So what South Korea and other areas have done, obviously these countries, it's easier to manage people because they're used to their governments being more restrictive, is that you isolate those people that are infected. You really take them out of the community. As soon as you know they're infected, you totally take them out and put them in some isolated place. So we're working to be able to do that here in Hidalgo County, that instead of this person that found out that he tested positive and is going to go back to the house and say, no, we're going to put you temporarily in in a place, probably a hotel room. We will provide meals. We will provide, you know, medical attention should you need it at that time, so that we can get you from being close to other people. So I'm real encouraged by the possibility of us being able to have something like that in place here in Hidalgo County. That was part of the discussions that I had with the governor. He was here Tuesday. He asked me where we were, what I thought, what were my suggestions, what were my suggestions of possibly improving the situation here in Hidalgo County. So we talked about this, and I feel very confident. That he will help it, because obviously, not only does it take money. I mean, we can go rent a hotel room very easily, but it takes staff. Staff is always a problem, and then liability when you put possible people, elderly people somewhere like that. There's a responsibility as to how you're gonna deal with it. So now let's go to why I extended, you know, my order. What I'm trying to do, ladies and gentlemen, is very simple. This virus is transmitted from person to person. So if we have separation, we have physical separation from one another, the chances of you getting infected are very, very, very low. So we're right in the middle of adding new precautions to our program, and I believe that extending this order, giving us another 2 weeks, I'm asking all of you to continue to do this, to do the sacrifice. So my order basically says, you know, shelter in place. If you're an individual living in Hidalgo County, you know, shelter in place. If you don't have to go out, don't go out. Stay in your residence. Okay. If all persons over the age of 65 are strongly encouraged, you know, to stay at home as much as possible. Maintain that physical distance from one member of the household to the other. You know, stay at home. There will be a curfew for all persons that are 18 and over from 10 to 5 a.m. What are we trying to do? What's the purpose of this? Usually from 10 to 5 are times that you don't have, normally you don't have to be out unless you're working. Normally that's time that is leisure time for you, or time, you know, for you to be resting. So we want to make sure that we keep you at home as much as we can, and not see people out there. Again, what are we trying to do? We're trying to separate you from someone else. On the next slide, you know, travel. If you travel, you see someone from another area, or somebody comes over here, you never know where that person has been, who they've seen, or whatever. So we're trying to get you to stay home. Don't travel if you don't have to. And then travel should be limited, you know, for 2 persons per vehicle for obtaining, you know, essential services, or no more than 4 persons per vehicle. The more people that you have in a car, closely compact car like that, the greater the possibility for you to transmit this disease to someone else. Again, one of the things that I think is some of the cause for that decline, that you're starting to see that percentage decline of a positive test, is, you know, we're all starting to wear facial covering. So to me, this is not a big sacrifice to do when you consider the benefits of doing it. So we're asking and requiring everyone to use facial covering, especially anywhere in public places that are out there. A biggie is outdoor gathering of 10 people or more. You know, we come from a culture that we like pachangas, we like socializing, we like getting together, we like going to the football game, we like going to family gatherings or whatever. We need to stop that. let's stop that for a while. Let's make that sacrifice just a little bit longer so we can put this darn thing, put it out. I mean, beat it together. The governor has provided an opportunity that if somebody does want to have an outdoor gathering of 10 people or more, and if you are in the municipality, you call the mayor, and the mayor allows you to do it, then you can do it. If you're out in the country, then I would be the one that you would be contacted. And again, this order is for 2 more weeks. We're asking you to make a continued sacrifice for 2 more weeks. We're all tired of this restrictions. We're all tired of this thing. But the only way that we're going to get out of this things is that we have to take the necessary action. What I have told everyone is, what do we need to do to coexist with this virus here in the county? If you're in business, be in business. What do you need to do to be in business? Protect your employees. How do you protect your employees? Make sure that there's physical distance between them. Make sure there's facial covering. Make sure you sanitize and practice good hygiene among themselves. So now you've created an environment that should be safe. Now, if a customer comes to you, how do you keep that safe environment within your business? Well, you likewise tell your customer to wear facial covering, and you have separation and distance from them. So now the combination of your safe environment with a customer that is also coming in here prepared to be safe, then we've created an environment that I think we can continue to coexist with this disease and not have to close businesses and not have to ask people not to go out and do the necessary shopping and whatever. Bars, the governor has specifically identified as a troublesome. So we're asking all bars to be closed, basically. And if you're selling more than 51% of your sales are considered to be alcoholic beverages, then you need to remain closed. You can open for delivery or takeout. But this, again, I know it's been a great sacrifice. I mean, how would I want it for someone to come and tell me that I have to close my business? Believe me, it pains all of us that have to make these orders. But if we're going to be able to come back to some normalcy, these are some of the sacrifices that we're going to have to make. This order will expire on August the 19th. I want to go on and move to some of the programs that this commissioner's court has implemented, for our people. As you know, the county received $151 million from this CARES Act fund. We shared these funds with all of the municipalities. We gave all of the municipalities, I believe it was $114 a person for them to use for the benefit of their municipality. We set aside an additional $18 that we said that, well, if we don't find a use for this money by September the 1st, then we will allocate this additional funds, which was $15 million, which happened to be 10% of the $151 million, back to the municipalities and to the rural areas. As you know, we have 22 municipalities in Hidalgo County, but we actually have 23 because the rural areas together make another municipality. Well, that municipality is entrusted to us, the county. So when you put them together, approximately one third or a little over, close to 40% of the people who live in Hidalgo County live in the rural areas. So for this, we took the money that was allocated to those people in the same way that it was allocated to municipalities. We wanted for them to use it for their benefit. So we came up with a small business grant. We allocated $4.2 million. So businesses can come in here and apply for it. It's got certain requirements. We'll hopefully have made them to a point that all the businesses that need it will be able to be eligible and be awarded this grant. The next thing that we said too many people lost their jobs or were furloughed or whatever. So we want to make available for them $7.5 million of these funds that were allocated to the rural areas to help people that couldn't pay their rent or couldn't pay their mortgage payments. Those applications are available through www.hidalgocares.org organization. So we're very excited, that those programs are available. Unfortunately, as we have been seeing this very high mortality rate, this fatalities here in the last month, they've come across people that simply can't even afford to properly bury the decedent. So the Commissioners Court Tuesday allocated $2 million to be able to offer it, to families that qualify for us to pay for their burial services. This is not something that's going to go to the families. This is something that's going to go to the funeral homes, to the people that actually are providing the service. But we're very happy that we did this, because there is a great need. Unfortunately, we've seen families where they've had two decedents in the same family, and they couldn't afford to bury one of them, much less two. So this will be announced today. It was approved Tuesday, but it was going through a legal process. But I believe that by the time that I finish this presentation today, I think that we're going to be able to announce it. The last thing on the good news side is that the Moody Foundation, which is located in Galveston, Texas, was really nice enough to award us a $250,000 grant. They wanted to make sure that we had money to help our first responders. As you know, they're constantly in that toxic environment. They're constantly around people that have, just like the other medical people. And some of them have been picking up people and transporting them to hospitals or other places that they're not getting compensated. Some of them were needing, personal protective equipment. Some are needing vehicles themselves. So we're real anxious to start awarding and making some of these grants available to first responders. Well, it's been a tough July. It's been a tough July, but I've never felt more optimistic and more certain that we're going to survive this disease. I think we're getting better in providing service. I think we're getting better in finding solutions to mitigating this horrible and terrible disease. We have a hotline, and that hotline is 956-292-7765. We received a numerous amount of calls asking for help and information. So I welcome you to use it and call it. And the most important that I can ask you is to be part of the solution, to practice good precautions, and we can win this battle. And I thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity to visit with you this afternoon. And I hope that some of this information is going to help you deal with this virus here in Hidalgo County. For that, again, I thank you and goodbye.